All right, Jeff, thanks so much for coming on today, man.
Yeah, sure thing. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So, why don't we start off the interview with a little bit of your background?
Sure. Where do we begin? I guess from the beginning.
Sure.
So I was a Navy SEAL for 13 years. I enlisted after college, went to Ohio State, enlisted after that. Um, did 8 deployments, got shot on 2 of them, had 4 parachute malfunctions, had a whole bunch of other crazy stuff happen. But that's not the reason I got out. I got out because you do anything enough, it just gets boring. It gets mundane. So I wanted to take the lessons that I learned, the lessons that we learned as individuals, as teams, and as an organization, and apply to the business. Because I knew that it was just a matter of semantics as to military business, how we operate at an elite level and how businesses can and should operate. It's just a matter of semantics. Because what I found since getting out is that everybody defines success differently, but the means by which they go about succeeding are always the same. It always entails leadership, teamwork, all the same, soft stuff that's really anything but soft, all very hard stuff. Anyway, got into management consulting, worked for a management consulting firm for about a year and a half before I saw an opportunity to work for myself as an executive coach. Got into executive coaching, got into more team coaching, and here I am today. And along the way, I write for Forbes every week. I wrote a couple of books and do a number of other things that I won't bore you with. But that's the
No, man.
2 minute
I love hearing those details.
Oh, thanks.
I'm so excited for this interview because, I know your background and I know you have so much to share on the three topics that we're going to discuss in this interview today. So I'm really excited to hear your points on this. So just to line up these questions, we're going to have a hypothetical situation where a young professional or a student comes up to you for honest advice and wants to know more about leadership, discipline, and fear, / rejection too. We can put that in there because it's related. And just to start off, he comes to you and he asks, what does it really mean to be a leader? How would you respond?
I think leadership is a very, very broad umbrella. So it really starts with paring down what leadership means to that person. Leadership means different things to different people. To me, it means authentic self-expression that creates value for others and compels them to believe, to think, or to act in a different way that they wouldn't have had they never been exposed to that sort of leadership. So, what it means for them, I think that's only something that can really come out in dialogue. But first and foremost, it means getting out there and leading from the front. It means doing, doing that which you don't necessarily like, don't necessarily want to do, but doing it anyway because it's the right thing to do. So it comes down to, I could probably rattle off a number of different cliches, but what leadership means to me is authentic self-expression that creates others to act, to think, to differently, do something different that they wouldn't have otherwise done beforehand. And so I would ask that person, what they want to get into and what leadership means to them, so that they can paint that picture for what they can, aspire to build.
Absolutely. Yeah. We can create a whole new video on the topic of leadership alone because it's such a important topic and something that people are trying to always figure out in their lives. It makes me think of all the instances where you had bad leadership as well. And that kind of exposure can teach you a lot of in your life of what you don't like and what you don't want to follow.
Yeah, it's a great starting point, actually. I gave a speech one time. It was actually here in D.C., and one of the questions asked by one of the audience members was, you seem to have known from a very young age what you wanted to do. What would you tell other people who don't necessarily know what their purpose is? For me, it was very clear. So I actually started with how I knew what I wanted to do. I started with knowing what I didn't want to do, just like you said, getting the opposite. Look at what the opposite means to you, why you don't want to do that, and just eliminate that altogether, because it's a lot easier for the brain to find reasons that might work, that you might find fulfilling, that could work, but you don't necessarily want them to work. So I tell people, don't look for what you might like. Identify what you don't. Eliminate those, and then that way you can narrow down the funnel.
Yeah, so it sounds like a matter of exposure then.
Yeah.
So just a segue into the next point, going on the topic of discipline, right? Let's have the same young professional student ask you, how can he or she become more disciplined? How would you respond?
Do it anyway. I mean, honestly, my second book was on managing the mental game, and there's a bunch of different tools, bunch of different tricks, so to speak, you can play on your mind. But at the end of the day, you're not playing any tricks. It really comes down to just putting your pedal to the metal and doing it, just getting after it.
Absolutely.
You build mental fortitude and discipline by doing stuff that you don't want to do it anyway.
It's like that phrase from Nike, just do it, right? It's probably some of the best advice you can get in your life.
It is. I mean, nobody learns from their successes. They learn from things that suck.
Yeah, that's true. The third topic of fear and / rejection is something that everybody deals with so often. It's like a primal instinct. How do we overcome that? How do we push past our comfort zone? How do we fight our greatest fears?
Same thing. Face it. Tackle it. Kick that fear right in the face.
Mm-hmm.
The first time, I got shot, we went out the second night on a raid. We normally we switch rotation. Different teams have different primary entries. We just take turns. But my team had 2 nights of primary entry because my team leader knew how important it was to get back on that horse for me personally after I got shot and kick that fear in the face. And it was fine. It was good. But the point is, like, you don't let fear fester. Once fear begins to fester, then it starts to consume you rather than you saying, no, not today. I got this. So,
absolutely. Yeah, and I think that you can actually build on that. So you do it once, you realize, oh, wow, that wasn't that bad, and you just keep going and you build momentum. That could be exciting for a lot of people, and not so much mental work to think about this tactic or that method. It's just very to the point. So I'm sure that viewers would appreciate that insight.
It's a huge snowball effect for your self-confidence, for your self-efficacy. It's huge. Start small, work big.
Absolutely. Yeah, Jeff, listen, this has been very insightful. I really appreciate your time coming in to speak about these topics.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. You got a great channel, great message. So I will continue following and sharing your work. So thank you.
Likewise, Jeff. Thanks so much, and I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Sounds good.